This is Tony Cole from Sketch of Soul Studios, and you are experiencing Poppet's Corner.
All right, what's going on, man? Hey, welcome to another edition of Poppet's Corner.
That's
I'm
right.
obviously Tanner Poppet.
Radio Radio.
Yeah.
Dad Drost here.
Yep, Dad Drost. And we are currently out coming to you live from rehearsal studio now in Gardena, California. What is the place called?
Sideshow.
Yes, there you go. And
This will be a sideshow.
it'll be crazy. But so stay tuned. We're going to have plenty of guests, but we're going to get started here with the Wizard. We had to get the Wizard on first because the Wizard always comes first.
This is Dennis Buhrmann.
Yes.
Everyone?
How you doing, sir? Thanks
Very
for
good.
coming
Very
on,
good.
man.
Yeah, thanks for being on. Dennis and I were talking before we went on just about he's got some history.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to touch on a little bit
what kind of
that,
history? Like, I know you do
hopefully it's all
sound.
good.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah, well, what brings you on, man?
Sherman was kind enough to invite me.
yeah.
Yeah, he runs Sideshow here in Gardena.
Well, we need to give a big shout out to Sherman for setting this all up and having Razor Radio and Poppet's Corner broadcast out of here. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Sherman. Thanks everyone for coming out and hanging. We appreciate it. So yeah. So let's continue. Do you do the sound here particularly, or you do it at
No,
venues?
I do provide amp repairs, equipment repairs for Sherman and for the groups.
Oh,
And I do live sound outside in nightclubs.
very cool. Well, what was your first gig at a nightclub?
First gig in a nightclub, I guess, was the Waters Club in San Pedro.
Wow.
That I started about 19. Well, no, I take that back. I did some touring local nightclubs. There was a circuit in Orange County of 10 nightclubs, and we'd play 2 weeks at each club and then move on to the next. First regular house gig was at the Waters Club in San Pedro.
Now, how did you get that gig? And was the Waters Club brand new at that time, or was it?
No, it wasn't. It had gone through several changes, as it always had. But I went there one night as a guest engineer with a group that I was hired to do sound for. And I got along well with the house sound engineer then. And sometime later, a few months later, he got in a fight with the head bartender. That's all I can say.
Who won?
I did.
Okay, good. That's what we like to hear. So,
No, Joe Gallagher, who was booking it at the time, called me and said, "Hey, we need a sound engineer now." So I said, "Okay, I'll do that."
and now, how did you get started in sound engineering?
Yeah.
I actually started as a musician, and down the road somewhere I realized, sound is really important when you're playing live. And from my experience, I've realized that every band needs somebody out front that knows how to adjust the sound and balance things and make them sound as good as possible. So I decided rather than fight the politics in bands, I'll just go with the sound.
That's awesome,
And,
and it's
it's-
obviously job security, right? 'Cause
It's been very interesting anyway. I get to work with a lot of different bands, types of music, different people.
Now, so what? I guess can you give me a year on when you started to do sound or started playing in
I
bands?
started to do sound in 1979.
Wow.
With a friend of mine. We formed our own sound company, started doing independent gigs. And then about 1982 was when I started doing the Orange County circuit. Did that for a couple of years, and then continued on with independent gigs until 1988 approximately, when I started working at the Waters Club.
So you worked there from 1988 until what?
About 5 years ago.
Wow.
But I actually worked there for 22 years. The club had gone through several changes musically, mostly. In about 1992, he changed it to a Mexican nightclub where they play regional music, norteño and banda.
Yeah.
So I guess what were your favorite times? I guess at the Waters Club, like what were the kind of the bands that you enjoyed doing sound for?
There were bands that played at the Waters Club I enjoyed doing sound for. There still are groups that are just a cut above average or have something unique going on for them, and it's always enjoyable to work with them, especially if they're cool people to work with.
I mean, I'm sure you have your stories of.
Yeah, I was going to say from '79 through up to now, there's probably a lot of
You wouldn't
bands.
believe it, and some of them are really laughable.
Yeah. And some of
Yeah.
the people that you probably think are great are jerks, and
Yeah.
some of the people that are.
You find that out,
Yeah,
yeah. And some of them are way cooler than you expect.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Did you find other a lot of bands coming in and specifically asking for you to do their sound?
On occasion.
Because I would imagine most bands when they're playing and they have a sound guy. Because I know from your experience,
Right.
It's like, man, this sound guy is freaking terrible. I'm going to do it myself.
Yeah.
And that's probably just out of default that you end up doing your own sound, and when you have a good sound guy and you know a certain venue, it's like, that sound guy, man, we got to brought our own guy, and a lot of the venues don't like that either when you bring your own guy. But
Yeah. You really have to explore the situation and weigh the alternatives. Sometimes the house engineer really knows more about the system and how to operate it
Sure.
than somebody coming in cold. So you have to check him out.
yeah, but every band deserves, if they're going to perform, deserves to sound their best, and you want to have
That's
the best
right.
guy out there for you. Sure.
Absolutely correct.
So, I guess when it came to playing in a band, because you said you had played in a band before, what was your instrument?
Bass guitar.
Okay, so you were a bass player. And did you just get sick of? I mean, obviously you got sick of other sound man, so you just wanted to make it better, or?
Well, at the time, and I had some experience with really good sound men in just one-off situations. But I realized that the sound really, especially at the time, seemed to be just miserably screwed up all the time. And so the band, if they were worthy of it, really needed somebody out front that knew something about them, knew their material, or what a good mix sounded like, to be able to do the sound for them.
And did you do actual like CDs for the group where they can get like the CD at the show after?
live
or-
recordings?
Yeah, like a live recording.
Rarely, on occasion. Mostly when we were doing the Mexican music, I was recording just headline bands that came through. There was a couple of groups in particular that I did quite a few recordings of and gave them several of them because they were that good. And that makes it easier to get a good recording.
Sure.
That's so crazy. So, I mean, you've had a lot of history now that you mentioned the Waters Club, because there's not much on the Waters Club. So, kind of give me like and listenership a brief kind of history of that place.
Well, it had gone through quite a few changes, really without my knowledge, but I found out later that it had been a punk club for a while, strictly punk. Then I believe it was a restaurant. He changed it around quite a bit.
He. So who is he?
The owner, Al Cordero. He owned it, and he would go with whatever was really popular and selling at the time. And when he bought the club, it was I think a 4-lane bowling alley. Then he changed it to a skating rink. Then he changed it to a restaurant. Then he changed it to a music club, and so forth. So it had been doing rock, and they just moved the stage and changed some things around when I first worked there, probably in about 1987. Wow. And continued to be hard rock, heavy metal until late 89.
I used to go there in like 82, 83, and all those days of
So you probably
when it was
ran
okay
into
to wear
each other.
spandex pants at the time.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
sure he didn't wear spandex pants
Yeah.
during
No,
that
no,
time.
no.
But I remember making like whenever there was a big show at the Waters Club, it was always about a 45-minute drive just to get out there, but it was worth it every time,
Yeah, dude. I mean, that place has had a history.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so you came in during like the heavy kind of extreme metal kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably had a lot more of the thrashy death bands and black metal and stuff. So
Yeah,
I guess
quite a variety, actually.
did they do shows every day?
No, just Friday and Saturday.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know this.
Friday and Saturday, we usually did 5 bands a night.
And now, how the Waters Club got its name, from my understanding, is there's a waterfall behind the stage
yeah.
or something like that. And
Yeah, the full name of the club is the Dancing Waters, and they did have a dancing water display behind the stage
I
and a
forgot about
waterfall.
that. I did not know that.
I mean, I just know certain pieces of
Yeah.
information, but not the whole picture. But so how you're still doing sound, right?
Yes.
But you had done sound at the Waters Club for 22 years. I didn't realize that the Waters Club was around for, until the 2000s or whatever, right?
Yeah, well, like I say, at one point he changed to Mexican music, and it was all in Spanish. And so the clientele completely changed, and it kind of went off the map, I guess.
But you still had a gig.
Mm-hmm, yes.
And that's great.
Yeah.
Did you do any other clubs while you were doing the Waters Club?
Occasionally some one-offs. And then I started at the Ami Hacienda nightclub and restaurant in Pico Rivera, where I've been for 10 years now. Just working mostly Thursdays and an occasional weekend. There's another engineer that was going to leave when I started there, but he's still there. So sometimes I cover him when he needs a night off, like tonight.
And now, how has sound kind of like how you do sound now? How has it changed from back when you first started doing it with analog versus digital?
Mostly by the equipment, which has gotten considerably better than it was, and it allows you to hear things clearer. You can get clearer sounds on all the instruments. You can put together a little bit better mix.
So, but how did you approach doing sound back then?
Well, people have asked, what's the first thing I need to do to learn to do sound? And it's learn to use your ears. Learn to listen to things. Listen to what you find as the best recordings, the best music that you can hear, and analyze it. See what it's all about, and learn to use your ears. And it takes some time. I understood this was going to happen. People would walk up and say, hey, what's that hum in the sound? What hum? And once you get accustomed to it, really get into it, then things like that really stand out. And it was a little tiny hum from one of the keyboards on stage at the time, but I said, okay, well, I know where I need to go with this now. But it's about learning to use your hearing, use your ears, know what a good mix is, and how to give each instrument its own space in a mix. That's really important.
Right. So I guess lastly, I want to ask, and I want to thank you very much for stopping by. This is really awesome for us. I've never...
Yeah, I was going to say the sound guy to me is sort of like the unsung member of the band.
Yeah, he's like the unsung hero.
Helps everything sound as great as it does, because you can go to a show and see a great band and it doesn't sound as good.
Yeah.
You're almost disappointed in it, and
it's not the band's fault.
Yeah, well, sometimes the equipment that's actually provided, sometimes the PA is bad or whatever, but I think when you have the right parties in there, especially doing sound, it adds an element of that was a great show.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, soundmen to me are the heroes of the show. They're just as important as the musicians.
Yeah.
The lighting guy is even a hero to me. If you don't have good lights, usually the sound man, I know that he does the lights or whatever too, but whoever's doing them both, it has to be recognized.
Yeah. I'd watch a show in the dark as long as it sounded great, though.
Yeah.
I would too. Yeah, that is true. That is true, man. But Dennis, thank you very much for stopping by and hanging with us for a few.
Okay, well, thank you for talking with me.
Absolutely.
I'd
Come
like
back
to thank
on
Sherman
anytime.
for inviting me.
You're welcome on anytime. I appreciate it, Dennis.
Awesome. Thanks for being on.
We'll check in with you guys in a minute.
The Wizard.
The Wizard, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Dennis, so much. So we'll be back. You're listening to Pop It's Corner and watching it, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be right back. Cheers.